Check it out. Before, after, before, after, before, after, before, after, before, after, 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 after. I've been shooting and editing portraits for over 15 years, and here's what I've learned. Hello everyone, this is Ernesto with Aftershoot, and let me come out and say it right away. In photography, editing is almost as important as shooting, because you can take a great photo, but if you don't know how to properly edit your image, then it will never be as good as it could have been. All throughout my career as a photographer, I've learned some basic concepts and ideas that have helped me become more and more proficient at editing images. Today, I'm gonna share some of those concepts with you so you can apply them when you're editing your next photo shoot. The first thing you gotta do when you're editing a portrait is balance. Before you get creative, before you tweak the colors and start playing with masks or any other tricks you might think you have under your sleeve, the first thing you should be doing is balancing your photo. You have to level those highlights and shadows, fix your white balance, and leave everything ready for the editing party. Okay, so we have this outdoor portrait I took a while ago, and as you can see, the image is kind of flat, but there is some information I can still recover, like the highlights in the sky and some shadows in my subject. So what I'm gonna do first is, like I told you, I'm gonna level my photo, I'm gonna balance it, so I get some of that information back. By bringing down the highlights, I am recovering some of the sky, and by lifting the shadows, I am recovering some information in the shadows, of course. I think I can bring the exposure of this image a little lower so I can get back some more of that sky, and with the shadows I can still recover some of the information I'm losing in my subject. After that, I'm gonna fix the blacks, I'm gonna fix the contrast, some of the color here in the basics area of the Lightroom panel, and just like that, I've already balanced my image well enough. I'm gonna fix the white balance a little bit, and there you go. This is an image I can start working on by leveling everything up, by balancing everything. You're getting an image that's good enough for you to edit and get all of that back in the editing process. So here we go. This is my image already balanced, and from here on, I can apply any trick, any magic, anything I want, because I already have a good beginning point for my editing process. Okay, so you've leveled your image and now you're ready to start bringing in the magic, right? Well, not so much. The second thing I do, and you should do too, is cropping. Just as important as exposing well, framing an image is key. It is by framing that we decide how we want people to perceive our photo. A bad frame can communicate a bad image. If everything is perfect, but your framing is off, something about your photo will never feel right. So trust me, cropping is more important than what many people think. After all, we are dealing with moving subjects, so sometimes they might move a little off frame and we will need to correct that while editing. Check it out. Okay, so I have an image right here. As you can see, my subject is well framed. I've already worked on the exposure values and I've balanced my photo, and now I'm gonna work on the cropping. Now, there's different ways to go about this. I can crop my subject so I can have her in the middle of the photo, like very well centered. That's an option right there, and then with the cropping, I've already changed my image. Or I can apply the rule of thirds, and I can do that by changing the crop overlay, which is right here, and putting it into the thirds. And I can put my subject in one of the thirds, maybe here, and that can give me a different image. Since my subject has her eyesight or view on this side, then it would be better if I cropped her to the other side, something like this. Well, I can choose different ways to crop my image. I think the best way to do it is to keep her in the middle while also keeping the actual frame I was going for right here. And if I want to make this a little more intense framing wise, I can of course add some masks up here and some mask also over here, so I can continue the actual framing I was going for with these lines over here. So by cropping my image, I am fixing what I maybe didn't get right in camera in the first place, or I am changing the perspective of what I saw in the camera, because while editing I might have seen something different, or I might have had a different idea of what would look good in this image. In my case, I'm keeping my subject in the middle, but always remember, you don't have to have your subject in the center of your photo. If you're changing your colors freely, if you're changing the tone curve and adding all sorts of effects to your image without any real control, just because you're letting your creativity fly without any restraint, then you're probably destroying your subject's skin tone. When editing portraits, it is important to always check, always go back to see what the edit is doing to the skin tones of your image. It is okay to be creative, but you should always remember what that creativity is here for in the first place. We're delivering a product to a customer. That product should reflect the way the customer looks or the image they want to portray. If by working on a photo, we're making our subject look a little too green, blue, magenta, or whatever, then we should always go back to correct whatever we made so that they don't look like an alien. Let me show you how. Okay, so I have this photo right here. Like I told you, I've already balanced my image. Okay, so this area is done. I've already cropped it, so that's done too. And sometimes because of colors in the environment, let's say because of the bouncing of the light on the blue floor, or when you're too close to trees and plants, that can also give some color casting into your subject that can change your subject's skin tone. If that was the problem, what I would do is I would go to the color mixer and I would choose either the orange or the red and work around with that, because skin tones tend to be on the orange or the red spectrum of the colors in our image. If that doesn't work, then another way to do it is I would use the point color right here. I would choose right here the dropper and I would select the tone I want to work in, which is probably, I don't know, any area in her skin that I feel needs fixing. And then I could change whatever color of that kind of color that I've just selected. You know, I can change the hue of it, I can change the saturation, and I can change the luminance. I can make it a little more red, a little more yellowish, depending on what the skin tone needs. And I can change the saturation of it. And of course, I can change the luminance of the skin tone to give me something more natural if I had some skin tone problems in my image. Sometimes basic editing tools will not bring your subject out of your image. Even if you used a flash or some sort of extra light source, there's always that situation in which you might need to mask your subject in order to make them more noticeable in your photo. I do this all the time. Masking and applying some edits only to the subject is the best way to make them stand out. You can use automatic tools like AI tools or manual tools. It doesn't really matter. Masking your subject will result in a more direct edit and thus a better photo. Here's how. Okay, so we have this image right here. I've already worked on the balance like I told you. I've already cropped my image and I still feel like my subject is a little dark. But the problem is, if I bring up the exposure of the photo, I'm also bringing up the exposure of the rest of the image, which is gonna overexpose the sky behind my subject and it's gonna make this area up here a little too bright too. So what is my solution here? Well, my solution will be to only brighten up or only lift the exposure of my subject. And I'm gonna do that by using the automatic subject selection tool right here. And I'm gonna bring the exposure up. It is as simple as that. Now, if I don't like the way this is lifting the whole exposure of the subject, there's other ways to work around it. For example, I can select the subject again and I can say, listen, my subject is too bright up here but too dark down there, so I'm going to subtract from that selection the area that I do not want brightened. So I'm only going to brighten the lower part of my subject right there. And if I feel like my subject has too much light on this side but not enough on the other side, I can always again select my subject and subtract whatever I don't need. In this case, with the brush, I'm gonna subtract this area of the face that has too much exposure. Then everything else from this side of my subject's body, because of course this area has more light than the other one. And then like that, I can lift the exposure of only that side of my subject in order to kind of balance or bring back some light into that area. Of course, it's not gonna get as bright as the other area because this was basically shadows, but it's going to get better. So now I can actually bring down the exposure of my subject a little bit, and then I can bring up the exposure of the other side in order to have it a little more balanced. And there you go. I achieved a better image and my subject looks better than the photo I had in the beginning when I did not mask my subject and my subject was kind of blending in with the background because there was no different light on this person than the light I had in the rest of the image. And the last thing I can recommend you do, but certainly not the least important, is you should always harmonize your photo shoot. Don't think of your session as a group of single images. You're not a server bringing different plates to someone's table. You should always be providing a client with a cohesive group of images that blend well with one another. They should have a certain look. They should have a certain style that makes them all feel like part of a whole. Editing is the best way to make your shoot achieve this harmony. I don't mean just applying a preset to everything and hoping all the colors respond the same way, even when you move your subject around your scene. Different ambience, different rooms, windows, anything can change the feel and vibe of your photos. So when you edit a session, as a whole, you should always be looking into correcting those little changes so that every image fits well into the collection of portraits you're going to deliver your client. Don't just edit single images. Compare them once you're done and level whatever you have to level to make them into pieces of a puzzle. And that's it. Those are 5 things to take into consideration when editing portraits. I hope you guys learned something new today. And as always, don't forget to follow Aftershoot in all of our social media to be always up to date with the latest we have to offer. See you all in the next one. Bye.